Can you imagine if well, can you imagine if like value was exchanged through harmony? Like produce harmony itself was valued? And being able to create harmony and generate it? All right, now that you guys got some good vibes, now we're going to talk about economics. Just kidding. But not kidding. Uh, I want to drop in there let's make this a little bit more interactive, this conversation that I'm going to be presenting. Drop in the chat. What are your automatic like initial associations with economics? Like thank you for bringing in the association with like home economic econo, like the history of economics and like the etymology of it. Thank you for that, Kelly. But like just everybody just share in there. Like what do you feel initially economics when like that even that word comes up or you hear about it in the news or it comes up in your community, right? Or the projects that we're trying to do and the things we care about. Just like what are the associations with economics? And as I'm reading it on here, like look at these associations, right? We're talking about like these are things that are making us feel all kinds of things. And I mean, in a lot of ways, when you start to understand neuroplasticity and you start to understand the nervous system and you study the anatomy and the physiology of our human body in relationship to ourselves and each other, you start to realize that if this is how we're looking at economics, what happens is you're using your brainstem then. You're not really using your prefrontal cortex, and we're not really problem solving anymore. And I wonder, like this, I hate to think this way, but coming from the culture where we have been dealing with colonization and like imperialism for many years, I come from a culture we tell stories about it, right? We keep reminding each other that it can happen. There can be great tyranny any moment. There could be a great king, but there could be great tyranny right around the corner. I think it's really important that we start to understand. Oh, for the translator. Oh, and it's Jaime doing it too. Oh my gosh, Jaime. I got 10 minutes, bro. If I had like 2 hours, it'd be a whole different thing. All right, Jaime, you got to just pick up certain words, okay? Um, I feel it's really critical that we are aware that sometimes there is actually it's planned. Like there might be ways that power plans for us to feel scarcity, for us to feel insecure, for us to feel the fear and also the inaccessibility of economics. Like the more that we feel disconnected from economics, the more we feel disconnected from political power, right? Whatever that means, political power. The more disconnected we are from that, the more it's going to be in in the hands of the few, right? Just like it's like this has constantly been a pattern through history. It's not something new. I'm not making this up. Like you can just study any sociology, politics, you can study economics through history because economics is not just with money, right? We've had economics with salt. We've had economics with gold. We've had economics with Silk Road, right? We've had economics with all kinds of things through history, right? Like, think about it. And you drop it in the chat right there. What are different economics that have existed in human history that you know of, right? Like, what are different ways that people have exchanged goods? I mean, Kelly just brought up, right? Some of the ways that indigenous Hawaiians also practice economics, right? Um, yeah, okay. So as we're kind of diving into economics in that way, I'm really I'm feeling a lot more hopeful these days in the context of us reimagining economics so that we can actually care about people and our social needs with our ecological needs together. I think there's a moment right now where there's somebody said this recently and it really stuck with me. There's a lot of power in disillusionment, right? Like when it's only when we get disillusioned that's the fertile ground for building something new and better, right? And like it kind of had to get to this point where we are like, what is going on with money? Wait, they're just printing money now? Like, wait, hold on, you can just print money and then pay people off, and who's the debt to? We have all this debt. Every country has debt, and wait, who are they in debt to? Like, what's going on here, you know? So we have to start to understand that disillusionment is empowerment, especially with our youth and like the work that we're doing with these ecoversities around the world. It's like, wait, we're actually, how do we create the bridge for a different future? that's seven generationally healthy and there's well-being for social and ecological indicators. Well, then we have to kind of like lean into the disillusionment. We have to be like, yeah, you're right. It doesn't make sense. Okay, but what does make sense? So, do I have ability to share my screen on here? Do you know?
You should have.
Okay.
Yeah, just try sharing it once.
Boom. How's that? You see that?
Yes.
Okay, we've got a lot of donuts here.
Sugar.
In the chat, what are different types of donuts that exist around the world? Like, just to drop in the chat. Like, what are donuts? Like we have donuts in America, right? Like you have donuts and you have like maple donuts and chocolate donuts. So like, but all of you guys that are around from around the world, what are the different kind of donuts that exist? You know, yeah, rasguelas, and you have menduada. Ooh, yeah. We have like please drop those things in there. We for some reason humanity we love food, right? I love awesome, but we love food that's like fried. Okay, yum, and we love food that's like fried and sweet. Like it's something, the dopamine involved in that is awesome, right? And there can be healthy donuts, right? Donuts are not jalebi, yeah, right? We have like you can make donuts healthy, like it's not always negative, right? It can be a positive thing too. It can also connect us to our culture. It can be a way for us to commune in our community, right? So just giving you guys a context that donuts are this awesome connecting energy. I have been doing these donut economics presentations in different communities, and I even found that like people who are very like capitalistic or they're very like individualistic or like you would associate them with kind of being on the wrong side or whatever, the donuts bring them into the conversation, and it's a great way to kind of bring people into this conversation of how do we regenerate our economics, how do we demystify economics. And I'm bringing this context to you guys because I'm a part of this organization called Donut Economics, right? This like global community that's forming all around the world around donut economics. We actually completed a California donut. It took us about 2 years of research to do one for the state of California, which is one of the biggest economies in the world, right? But what donut economics, I know it's kind of a, what are you guys talking about? What is donut economics? Really, donut economics, it allows us to look at any system. It could be a village. That could be the system we're looking at. It could be a neighborhood or a village. It could be a city. It could be a county. In America, we got counties. It could be a country, right? It could be a bioregion. But basically, donut economics lets us look at any system and be like, what's the health? Yeah. Yeah, I gotta always have the break, the dance break in between the economics conversations. Donut economics allows us to look at like the health of any system, but it's a holistic framework. So it's looking at the health of a system, the social needs and the ecological needs. So in the chat, really quickly, people, what are social things that you need in a society or in a community or in a neighborhood or in a village? What are social things you need? What are like the social things you need? Drop it in chat. Social things. Water. Yeah, you need water, right? The community needs water. People, yes. But when you say people, Pooja, like people need a voice, right? Like everybody in the community needs a voice, and their voice needs to be respected. So that's the voice of the people is important. Healthy soil, right? The soil is going to equal food, care. Thank you, Pooja. Say care, like healthcare, right? Like that's a really important need in a social system. Public space is really critical. Respect, warmth, treat us in even more fundamentally. Like think about like what governments and societies kind of like analyze. What are the spirituality? Wow, that's a really important one, especially for certain communities, right? That's like really a basis of their community is the spirituality, empathy, and compassion. I would even put in their education. Like here we are, ecoversities. Isn't education an important social foundation? Totally, right? Non-judgmental roads. Thank you, Sunny. Like we need roads, transportation. How are people moving around? So you can see the social indicators are they can be very unique to any system. Because if you go to Africa, it's gonna be very different than if you go to India, if you go to America, if you go to Canada. Very different place, very different social needs, right? In different systems. And if you go smaller to a village, it's gonna be very unique to that village, right? Or you expand into a city, a urban community, it's gonna be very different. Okay, what are ecological things that you need for a society to be healthy? For a society to be regenerative and healthy, what are ecological things you need? What do you guys think? Manish said forest. right? So we need like forest, biodiversity is critical, nutrients, clean water. In fact, water is interesting with ecological things because you have fresh water, right, from the rivers and the streams, but then you also have salt water if you're near the ocean. They're both critical. Like you need healthy also ocean too, right? Because ocean you have like acidification, right? That is related to the ocean. Sewage, right? Water management. What about okay, clean air? Thank you, Carlos. Yeah, exactly. We need the air, right? Bacteria, mushroom. We need biodiversity, right? So these are ecological indicators. So here's how the donut works. We did the California donut. Take a look at this. Like imagine when you're looking at this, you're looking at the game, like it's like a video game. And like, you know, when you press pause and you look at the health of a character, or I don't know if you guys ever played SimCity or whatever, like, you know, you look at the health of a system. This is California. Is the donut healthy or is it leaking? When I say leaking, right, you know, get a jelly donut and there's like, you don't want the donut to be leaking, right? We want it to be a regenerative and just donut, right? How is this donut look? Drop in the chat. Is the California donut healthy or is it leaking? All that red means that it's leaking, right? But inside, it's leaking inside for the social stuff, right? So if I like actually zoom in here, you can see like the health, the education, the political voice, social cohesion, so much is leaking in the social indicators. But then you also look at ocean acidification, climate change, chemical pollution, fresh water. Oh my gosh. So there's a lot of leakage happening. Okay, that tells us, okay, California is in bad shape. But here's the thing. Right now, in our current ways that we look at economics, even when you go to government meetings and you look at systems, what happens in these, oh, nice. When you look at these systems, like when you actually go into government spaces and the way that decisions are being made, or you look at philanthropy spaces and the way impact metrics are being evaluated, they're all over the place. Healthcare is over there, environment, climate change is over here, education is over here. Everything is spread out and they're not communicating with each other. What donut economics lets us do is it kind of lets us be like, hey, how do we actually do it holistically? Like, how do we solve multiple problems together? Because we recognize that the healthcare is related to the ocean, acidification is related to the education. So this is kind of where we're reimagining economics in such a way that we can actually do actions that are multi-solving, right? Rather than just solving one thing, but also a communication tool for the community. So as we've been doing this, we've now in California, we've seeded several projects. There's a San Francisco donut that's happening now. There's a San Jose donut that's about a year in. There's a San Diego donut. There's a Placer County donut. So different communities all around California starting to do their own donuts. And they're coming together, like different organizations, different community members are coming together to be like, hey, I focus on healthcare. Hey, I focus on environment. Hey, I focus on biodiversity. And there's a cohesion, a coherence happening between people. Finally, right? Because otherwise everybody was siloed and competing for grants and everybody, but like, how do we bring everybody together to be like, we want to solve all the problems together at the same time, not like one incremental thing at a time, right? And it's funny, Kelly, you bring up Hawaii. I lived in Hawaii for a while, actually 3, 4 years, and I'm talking right now with Oscar about bringing donut economics to the Big Island, right? Because it makes sense. It's like literally an island, so you can actually use a bioregion, so you can literally do donut economics way more finite, right? It's a finite space rather than like something that has open, you know, people can cross back and forth between the borders, right? So yes, exactly. And Chemo is a good friend, and I'll have to send you my interview with Chemo, Mayor Chemo Alameda. So uh, I would love like this is like I can expand way more into this. I just want to drop some other things. This just released a Kate Raworth, who's one of the economists who helps like kickstart this and conceptualize this. They just released the current donut. This is kind of like the layout of donut economics for the world right now. Like this is like what it is for the world. Like if we were like look at planet Earth, this is kind of the layout. This is like a way of looking at the donut economics, but not in a donut, right? This is like, okay, now you can see all the bottom stuff is the people stuff, the top stuff is the ecological stuff, right? And you can see we're breaking out of certain things, okay? Right? I will share a indigenous perspective of this. This was a version that was created by a Maori tribe in New Zealand, and they decided they were gonna flip it. Look, they added actually the regenerative and just space. They called it Oranga Iho Nui. I hope I'm doing it right, but it's the spirit of being regenerative, right? That's like what they brought into that, right? Bringing in spirituality into this economic model, right? And they flipped it. They put the ecological things on the inside and they put the social things on the outside. Just a way of perspective, right, of us looking at this. And then also, I'll also add, oh wait, hold on. I'll also add that this is like Melbourne has a donut that's interactive. So like, here, I'll share this in the chat if you guys want to play around with this. But this one's kind of cool. So I'm working on this for California. But if you click on this, it actually shows you different projects, different stories that are happening where they're actually fixing the problems and the organizations that are like solving these problems in those different ways. And you can actually click on different things and you can say, oh, well, access to information. Oh, here's who's doing that. Okay, mobility. Oh, here's all different organizations doing that, different stories. So donut economics is not just about data, right? Data is not always just about cold facts. Data is also our stories. Data is also like the impacts of the communities and the people that are doing things. I think that's really important for us to start to understand that economics is not just something that's foreign to us. It's not something that just people who have the science degrees and economics degrees and blah, blah, blah do. We all produce data all the time. When we hear a story from our grandma, that's data right there. When she's telling stories from her ancestors, that's data too. Let's start valuing all data. Let's honor that data and actually understand sometimes we got to be aggressive about data. Let's bring our grandma's stories into our city meetings or county meetings or neighborhood meetings, right? Let's bring those stories in. Let's be proud of the different types of data, right? Let's not feel like, oh, I don't have the degree, I can't bring in the data. No, your data is valuable because you're being impacted by what's happening in the community, right? So bring in the stories. Stories are also data, right? But also we can do proactive data. So as I'm sharing about all of this, what we're starting to do with donut economics, where we are here in California, is starting to actually produce events, and we call them eco festivals. Actually, Sierra came and participated in an eco festival we did here. But what we were doing is not just teaching about economics, but how do we heal this donut while we teach about it? So what we do is we do festivals around healing social and ecological indicators while teaching about it. So we'll plant trees and we'll provide free food and community healing, and we'll talk about the problems in the community and collect data that's stories and collect data that's personal perspectives of these things while we're teaching economics and civic engagement, right? Because at the end of the day, all of us are working within systems. You can't just escape the system. Like that's the thing that people keep trying to do with eco villages, right? They started eco villages to try to escape the system. There's no escaping any system. You're part of the system. And eventually you're going to take a plane. You're going to need the healthcare. You're going to need something a part of the system, right? So we have to start leaning into the system, but let's be more empowered with each other. And maybe not all of us is an economist, but it's okay. The farmer has to be a part of the conversation too. The grandma has to be a part of the kids have to be a part of the conversation too. They're a part of the economics as well, right? Let's include everybody, but let's demystify it, right? Let's make it more accessible. And part of the accessibility is us making these embodied experiences where we learn about economics in the different ways. And then get kicked off now. Donuts. Okay. I'm gonna drop it out there. Please connect with me on LinkedIn or Instagram. Let's keep diving in. If you guys want to dive into this in your communities, let us know. This is just the last thing. This is the community around the world. Look at all the people around the world that are doing donut economics. All right, you guys can look at all the different organizations that are doing stuff. Maybe there's one that's near you and you can integrate them. But it's happening. Donut economics is like all economic mythologies. It's an economic mythology. It might not be the one that solves all our world's problems, but we do need to imagine into new economic mythologies. If we want to create a just and regenerative world, we have to think about things differently than we have up until now. And by the way, the things that we've been thinking about now has been mostly projected on us. We haven't been participating in it, right? It's not like we got to decide the current economic system. It kind of was like, here, you got to do it, And I don't think that we need to do that. We have stories from our ancestors. There still are stories from different cultures around the world that are practicing different economic mythologies. Maybe we can integrate in different ways. And spiritualities have also economic mythologies. Maybe we can integrate those spiritual economics as well while we're reimagining economics in a different way. And by the way, donuts. Every time we do events too, by the way, we always bring donuts. Okay. And it's that's always a hit. The kids love it. The elders love it. Donuts are such a great way to kind of bring people in. But I'm not trying to get you guys in the donut cult, okay?
Healthy donuts.
Healthy donut. But this is not a donut cult, okay? And if you end up in a donut cult, I did not advise that, okay? No donut cults, okay? Unless it's a donut culture, then that's fine.